In recent days, more than 1 million people have taken to the streets in Iran. Images like these once again place the country at the center of global attention. But Iran is not a country that can be understood through a single event. This is a land that was once the heart of one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. A civilization that ruled vast regions of Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. It is a country with one of the deepest cultural traditions on Earth, shaped by extraordinary architecture, art, philosophy, and a powerful sense of identity that has survived invasions, revolutions, and decades of pressure from the outside world. To understand what is happening in Iran today, its conflicts, its decisions, and its role on the global stage, we first need to understand what Iran really is, and why it still matters. To understand Iran, we have to begin with its geography. Iran sits at the heart of a vast crossroads between the Middle East, Central Asia, the Caucasus, and South Asia. Few countries in the world occupy a position this strategic. At its core lies the Iranian Plateau, a high and rugged tableland that has shaped the country's history, defense, and identity for thousands of years. Surrounded by natural barriers, Iran has never been easy to conquer or to control. To the west, the Zagros Mountains form a massive wall separating Iran from Mesopotamia. To the north, the Alborz Range rises sharply above the Caspian Sea, with Mount Damavand standing as the highest peak in the Middle East. These mountains have acted both as shields and as cultural boundaries throughout history. Much of Iran's interior is dominated by vast deserts, such as the Dasht-e and the Dasht-e-Lut, some of the hottest and most inhospitable regions on Earth. These landscapes have concentrated population, trade, and power along specific corridors, reinforcing the importance of cities and routes rather than open plains. But Iran's geography is not only about land. To the south, it controls access to one of the most critical maritime choke points on the planet, the Strait of Hormuz. A significant share of the world's energy exports passes through this narrow stretch of water, giving Iran a level of strategic leverage far beyond its borders. This unique combination of mountains, deserts, and maritime access explains why Iran has always been more than a regional state. Geography made Iran a bridge, a fortress, and a gatekeeper, long before modern politics ever entered the picture. Long before modern borders, this land was known as Persia, the center of one of the most influential civilizations in world history. From the Achaemenid Empire to later Persian dynasties, power here was built not only on conquest, but on administration, infrastructure, and cultural integration. Roads, taxation systems, and governance models developed in Persia would later be adopted by empires across Eurasia. Under the Persian kings, this empire developed one of the most advanced administrative systems of the ancient world, capable of governing, taxing, and communicating across more than 120 distinct nations, cultures, and peoples. Even as empires rose and fell, Persian identity never disappeared. Language, art, literature, and a strong sense of continuity allowed this civilization to survive invasions by Greeks, Arabs, Mongols, and Turks, absorbing outside influences without losing its core. In the 20th century, Persia re-emerged as a modern nation-state under a powerful monarchy aligned with Western interests. Rapid modernization transformed cities, industry, and education, but it also created deep social and political tensions. Those tensions erupted in 1979 when the Islamic Revolution overthrew the monarchy and replaced it with a radically different system. Political power was no longer based on kingship, but on a fusion of religious authority and state institutions. This moment did not erase Persia's past. Instead, it reshaped it. The modern Islamic Republic inherited a civilizational memory thousands of years old, and combined it with a revolutionary ideology that continues to define its worldview today. To understand the country's decisions in the present, it is essential to see them not as sudden breaks, but as the latest chapter in a very long historical continuum. How power works. and how people live under it. To understand modern Iran, it is essential to understand how power is organized today. The country operates under a hybrid system, where elected institutions exist alongside powerful religious authorities. This structure was born out of the 1979 revolution, designed not only to govern, but to shape society itself. At the top stands the supreme leader, who oversees the military, the judiciary, and long-term strategic direction. Alongside him, a president and an elected parliament manage daily governance, but always within limits set by the system. One of the most influential institutions is the Guardian Council, which reviews laws and controls who can run for office, ensuring ideological continuity rather than rapid political change. But this system is not only political, it is deeply social. Public life in Iran is regulated by a strict interpretation of religious law, shaping dress codes, behavior, media, and cultural expression. State censorship, limits on speech, and restrictions on public assembly are part of everyday reality. Women, in particular, live under a legal framework that treats them differently from men in matters of dress, family law, and public presence, a source of constant tension between the state and large sectors of society. The result is a country where daily life is marked by contradiction, a young, educated, and highly connected population living under a rigid system designed for control and stability. This tension helps explain why moments of protest repeatedly emerge, and why the system responds cautiously but firmly each time. Understanding this human dimension is essential to understanding Iran itself. No city reflects modern Iran more clearly than its capital. A city located at the foot of the Alborz Mountains in the north-central part of the country, Tehran is the political, economic, and cultural heart of the country. A metropolis of more than 10 million people, where power and daily life constantly collide. This is where decisions are made, laws are enforced, and the direction of the state is defined. Government institutions, religious authorities, and security forces are deeply embedded in the urban landscape. But Tehran is also a young, dynamic, and highly educated city. Its streets are filled with students, professionals, artists, and entrepreneurs, many of them connected to the outside world through technology, education, and culture. Here, modern lifestyles exist side by side with strict social regulations. Cafes, universities, and creative spaces operate under constant boundaries, negotiated daily between citizens and the state. The contrast is striking. A city that feels modern and global in its aspirations, yet constrained by rigid political and social limits. This tension is not hidden. It is visible in how people dress, speak, and move through public space. And it is often in Tehran where social pressures first surface, before spreading across the rest of the country. To understand Tehran is to understand the contradictions of Iran itself. Ambition and control, modernity and tradition, resilience and restraint, all existing in the same place at the same time. At the core of this long-standing conflict lies a strategic triangle: Iran, Israel, and the United States, each operating under very different security doctrines and regional objectives. For Israel, Iran represents a potential existential threat, particularly due to its regional influence and its nuclear ambitions. For the United States, Iran has long been viewed as a destabilizing force capable of reshaping the balance of power across the Middle East. Iran, for its part, sees both countries as external powers seeking to limit its sovereignty and regional role. Rather than relying solely on direct confrontation, Tehran has built a wide network of influence across the region, supporting allied groups and political movements from the Levant to the Arabian Peninsula. This indirect strategy has made Iran a central actor in multiple regional flashpoints, even without open warfare. The result is a persistent state of tension, a conflict that simmers rather than explodes, but never fully disappears. In recent years, this rivalry has increasingly centered on Iran's nuclear program. Strikes against strategic facilities, covert operations, and escalating military pressure are not isolated incidents. They are the latest expressions of a confrontation that has been unfolding for decades. These actions are designed less to trigger war than to send signals of deterrence, of limits, and of red lines that all sides are constantly testing. Understanding this conflict requires seeing it not as a series of headlines, but as a continuous struggle over power, security, and influence. One deeply rooted in geography, history, and regional ambition. To understand Iran beyond power and conflict, we need to look at its cultural foundation. Iran is not only a political state, it is a civilization with a cultural identity that predates modern borders by thousands of years. Persian culture has long been defined by art, poetry, philosophy, and architecture. From intricate calligraphy and monumental mosques to literature that continues to shape identity today, culture has remained one of the most powerful unifying forces in Iranian society. Religion plays a central role, but not only as belief. In Iran, it is deeply intertwined with education, law, public life, and collective memory, shaping how society understands authority, morality, and community. One key element that sets Iran apart in the Middle East is its religious identity. Iran is the largest Shia-majority nation in the world, while most of the countries surrounding it follow Sunni Islam. This difference is not only theological, it has deep political and strategic consequences. Religious identity shapes alliances, power structures, and rivalries across the region, adding another layer of tension to an already fragile geopolitical landscape, a predominantly Sunni Middle East. At the same time, Iranian culture is far from static. Cinema, music, visual arts, and literature have evolved under constraint, producing forms of expression that are often subtle, symbolic, and highly intellectual. This cultural depth explains something often overlooked. Iran's resilience is not rooted only in institutions or ideology, but in a shared sense of identity that has endured empires, invasions, revolutions, and isolation. To understand Iran's present and its future, one must first understand the culture that continues to hold the country together. Historic cities. Isfahan, Shiraz, and Yazd are not merely ancient cities. They are living chapters of Iranian civilization. Through them, it becomes clear that Iran is not a modern improvisation, but a historical continuum stretching back more than 2,000 years. Isfahan was the heart of Iran during its imperial zenith. Under the Safavid dynasty in the 17th century, it became the capital and a symbol of centralized power. Naqsh-e-Jahan Square, one of the largest urban squares on Earth, was more than an architectural marvel. It was a political statement. Mosques, palaces, and bazaars were deliberately arranged to reflect balance between faith, commerce, and state authority. Isfahan projected Iran as a refined empire, capable of rivaling Istanbul, Rome, or Delhi in both grandeur and urban vision. Shiraz represents a different dimension, the soul of Persian culture. Long associated with poetry, gardens, and philosophy, it produced literary giants such as Hafez and Sadi, whose verses still shape Iranian identity today. Shiraz also served as a capital in multiple periods and often became a refuge of relative tolerance during times of political turmoil, reinforcing its role as Iran's cultural conscience rather than its military core. Yazd tells the story of survival. Rising from the desert, its windcatchers, adobe neighborhoods, and ancient Qanat water systems demonstrate how Iranian civilization mastered extreme environments. As a historic center of Zoroastrianism, Yazd bridges Islamic Iran with its pre-Islamic roots, preserving traditions that predate conquest and empire alike. Together, these cities reveal a crucial truth. Iran cannot be understood solely through headlines or modern geopolitics. It must be read through its cities, where power, culture, and resilience have been carved into stone, water, and memory. Iran is a cultural mosaic, ethnic and regional diversity. Iran is often imagined as a monolithic nation, but in reality, it is a cultural mosaic shaped by geography, migration, and empire. Its diversity is not a weakness. It is the foundation of its historical resilience. Persians form the cultural core, but they are only part of the picture. Along Iran's frontiers live Azeris, Kurds, Arabs, Baluchis, Turkmen, Lors, and many smaller communities, each with distinct languages, traditions, and historical memories. This diversity emerged because Iran sits at the crossroads of the Middle East, Central Asia, and the Caucasus, a space where empires overlapped rather than erased one another. Among these groups, the Kurds occupy a particularly important place. Spread across Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Syria, the Kurdish people are often described as a nation without a state. In Iran, Kurdish regions line the rugged Zagros Mountains, forming a natural frontier that has long resisted full control from any central power. Some historians link the Kurds to the ancient Medes, the Iranian people who helped overthrow the Assyrian Empire in the 7th century BCE, embedding Kurdish identity deep within Iran's pre-imperial past. Across the border, Iraqi Kurdistan offers a revealing contrast. Its capital, Erbil, one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities, has become a symbol of Kurdish autonomy. While politically separate from Iran, Iraqi Kurdistan remains culturally intertwined, sharing language roots, trade networks, and collective memory with Kurdish communities inside Iran. Iran's challenge has never been diversity itself, but managing it. The state has historically relied on a balance of inclusion, cultural integration, and firm central authority. This mosaic explains why Iran behaves less like a nation-state and more like a civilizational space, held together not by uniformity, but by negotiated coexistence. Northern Iran. Life in the Caspian Sea. Northern Iran, shaped by the Caspian Sea and the towering Alborz Mountains, forms one of the country's most distinctive worlds. This region feels radically different from the arid plateaus that dominate much of Iran, revealing a greener, softer geography where water defines life. Along the Caspian coast, dense forests, misty hills, and fertile plains create a landscape closer to the Caucasus than to the Middle East. Rainfall here sustains rice fields, citrus groves, and Iran's most famous tea plantations. Caspian tea, grown on the humid slopes of Gilan and Mazandaran, is more than a crop. It is a cultural ritual, shaping daily life and social customs. Tea houses, slow conversations, and local sweets reflect a rhythm dictated by climate rather than desert survival. The mountains rise sharply behind the coast, isolating communities and preserving distinct architectural styles. Wooden houses with steep roofs, raised above the damp ground, contrast sharply with the adobe cities of central Iran. These mountain settlements have long supported pastoral traditions, with seasonal herding connecting highland pastures to lowland villages in a cycle older than the modern state. Inland, northern Iran is also defined by its lakes. Lake Urmia, once one of the largest saltwater lakes in the Middle East, has historically been vital for mineral extraction and regional trade. Its salt deposits supported local economies and shaped settlement patterns, while life around the lake revolved around fishing, salt harvesting, and transport. Together, the Caspian Sea, mountains, and lakes form a northern Iran that feels self-contained and resilient. It is a region where nature softens Iran's image, revealing a country shaped not only by deserts and conflict, but by water, greenery, and deeply rooted traditions of coexistence with the land. Iran. Economy. Iran's economy today is best understood through geography. Its strengths, constraints, and contradictions are rooted not only in policy, but in location, resources, and history. At the core lies oil. In southern Iran, near the Persian Gulf, vast hydrocarbon fields have powered the state for over a century. Control of territory adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz gives Iran strategic weight far beyond its GDP. Roughly one-fifth of the world's traded oil passes through this narrow maritime choke point, making Iran an unavoidable actor in global energy security, even when politically isolated. Geography alone guarantees relevance. Beyond oil, Iran's position as a bridge between Central Asia, the Caucasus, South Asia, and the Middle East gives it immense logistical potential. Roads, railways, and ports connect landlocked regions to open seas, offering Iran the foundations of a Eurasian trade hub, an ambition repeatedly constrained by sanctions rather than terrain. Iran is also a mineral power. Its deposits of salt, copper, zinc, and rare minerals feed domestic chemical industries and agriculture. Salt lakes and mining regions supply inputs essential for fertilizers, pharmaceuticals, and industrial production, reducing reliance on imports. Agriculture remains vital. Despite arid conditions, Iran produces wheat, fruits, nuts, and saffron, while regional specialization, like Caspian rice and tea, supports internal markets. Tourism, driven by Iran's unmatched historical and cultural heritage, once offered major growth potential. Yet sanctions dominate the present. Iran's confrontational regional policies and nuclear ambitions have restricted access to global finance, technology, and markets. The result is an economy forced inward, resilient, adaptive, but constrained. Iran today is not an economic failure, nor a fully integrated power. It is a resource-rich civilization navigating isolation, where geography offers opportunity and politics sets the limits. Iran today: myths and realities. Contemporary Iran exists between myth and reality, tradition and transformation. Often portrayed as rigid and uniform, Iranian society is in fact layered, dynamic, and deeply shaped by its cultural inheritance. Religion plays a visible role in daily life, influencing public norms, education, and law. Yet it does not erase complexity. Iran maintains one of the highest education rates in the region, with women forming a majority of university students in many fields. Female participation in science, medicine, literature, and the arts continues to grow, even as social and legal constraints remain. Iranian women are not absent from public life. They actively redefine it from within. Art remains a core language of identity. Centuries-old traditions in ceramics, tilework, calligraphy, and poetry still shape contemporary expression. Persian poetry is not confined to books. It is quoted in conversation, shared online, and woven into music and visual art. The past is not preserved, it is practiced. Festivals reveal this continuity. Nowruz, the Persian New Year, celebrates renewal and survival beyond religion. Chahar Shanbe Suri, the Fire Festival, honors purification and defiance through flame. Shab-e-Yalda, marking the winter solstice, brings families together to celebrate light overcoming darkness. These rituals connect modern Iranians to pre-Islamic roots that remain culturally alive. Social media has opened new spaces of expression, especially for younger generations and women. Despite censorship, digital platforms function as cultural forums where fashion, art, humor, and dissent coexist. Beyond the cities, rural Iran preserves older rhythms. In northern Azerbaijan, pastoral communities still practice seasonal herding, living in yurts or stone villages. Places like Kandovan, with homes carved into volcanic rock, blur the line between architecture and landscape. Mosques serve not only as religious centers, but as hubs of education and community life. Iran today is neither frozen in the past nor detached from it. Its essence lies in fusion, urban and rural, ancient and modern, coexisting within a civilization that continues to evolve. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Leave your reflections below, subscribe to the Geography channel for more geopolitical explorations, and share this video to expand the discussion. See you next time in our ongoing journey through history, power, and place.